Hi, this is Prof. Redder, and this is a video to describe how to write software using the observer pattern from the Gang of Four. However, in this case, we're not going to use the Gang of Four's model directly, but rather use the .NET Framework's implementation of the observer pattern. Just to give you an idea of what this is about, let me show you an app that we're going to look through. In this case, this app creates a client window. And the idea is that this might be a teacher or some kind of a monitor to a group of people. And when you click on open, it opens up a student window. And the student can write in here, and it's got the student's name. And as the student writes things in here, if he writes a bad word, then the report comes to the student. So if I was Dave over here and I typed in that darn, as soon as I finished the word darn, something over in this form recognized that I typed a bad word. It sent that string, even with my typo, over to this other window along with my name, and it says Dave typed the word that darn. Maybe that should say typed this that had that darn in it, or it had darn in it, but I don't care. So the point is that we have this form over here that's doing something that causes something to happen that informs this form that something happened, and this form then reacted to it. That's the structure of the observer pattern in terms of how it works and what it does. But let's take a look at some code now to see how that thing comes about. The first thing we'll look at actually is the observer pattern UML diagram from OO Design, a site that has some reasonable kinds of coverage of design patterns. This is called object-orienteddesign.com, and they do a really pretty decent job, except in this one they've got an error, but it's just a minor error. The idea is that we want to have something that's observable, and we want to have something that's observing. So it turns out that the observer here is going to be the form that, let me do this, is going to be this form, the one that gets the notification. And the observable is going to be the other form, the one that creates the event that occurs that is notifying other objects in the class or in the file. So what happens is that we create a structure within our code that allows us to notice when certain things happen. So in this case, the observer attaches itself to be, I call it a subscription actually. The observable, the observer will attach itself or ask to be notified when the observable raises an event. And so let's go take a look at that, how that works. This is the code for Form 1. So let's just look at Form 1 here, actually. And if I look over here, let's stop that, and come over here into Form 1, and look over here, there's a list of events that can occur. And these are all predefined events by Microsoft. They're in the .NET Framework for the object that's selected over here. But I don't have one over here that tells me about events somewhere else. If I look at Form 2, I've got the same kind of thing. The events are all things that happen as a result of things Microsoft's .NET Framework expects, and there's really nothing in here that has anything to do with me typing in a bad word. So what we need to do is we need to create our own event, and it won't be associated so much with the form, but let's click on this, and we're going to have an event object that we create, and then we're going to raise that event and cause the event to notify us of, or whoever asks to be notified that the event occurred. So this takes two pieces. The first piece that it takes is the event object itself, and I've put it here second, but this is the way you declare an event object. You say public event, the name of the event is here, bad word entered, and this thing right here is the handler for the event. And what we want to do is to create a method that will handle the event And we're going to have to specify what kind of an event handler we want. For our purposes right now, what we want is one that has this signature. Now this is the signature of a method that will be called when the event gets raised. And please follow along, because it's kind of confusing here for a little bit, but before this is up, before I'm done with this video, I think it should make a lot of sense to you, this sequence of things that takes place to cause all this to work. What this means is that there will be a method. It won't be named bad word event handler, but it will be a method with this kind of a structure: void, the name, object sender, and a second argument of type bad word event args. That's something that we're going to create a class that allows us to pass information from the event onto the observers. So if you look here, you'll notice that somewhere down in here, as soon as the text gets changed, this code goes through looking at the word or the text that's in the text box, and it notices whether or not it's got a bad word in it. That's what this little piece of code is in here for. It checks to see if there is a bad, well, actually this little piece right here checks to see if there's a bad word in the text, and then this is the response to it. And so what happens when we find out that the bad word has been entered is that we check to see if anybody has asked to be notified when a bad word is entered, and if so, we raise the event. So this first piece right here checks to see if anybody's been asked, if the request or any observers have been asked to be notified when a bad word is entered. And this piece right here says, just repeating myself, this says raise the event. If nobody has asked to be notified, we just don't raise the event at all. This little guy down here is the class that I told you about that's going to take, or that's going to send, or it's going to be the arguments to the bad word event, the bad word entered event. So we're going to create an object of this class. Notice that it derives from event args, and event args is predefined by the .NET framework. So what this is going to do is we're going to use this constructor here to create a bad word event args object, passing the name of the person that typed the bad word and the string that in this case is the word, although we really have the whole string, the whole sentence going over, and we'll wrap those up into a bad word event args object. And we do that right here. So this says that the sender is this, meaning this form, so it's form 2, and that the bad word event args object that we're going to send along to the observers who ask to be notified that this event has been thrown or raised, then we'll create a new bad word event args object. We'll get the text box username.text value from the form, and we'll get the text from the text box for the text that we want to show. So thinking about it like this, let's look at the form code, and we say create the form. When I click on the second form click, if you'll recall, I clicked on a button that said open, and that created this form. So that's what's going on here with this open second button or second form. And I create a new form. I specify its location so it doesn't sit somewhere I can't see it or on top of something I want to see. And then I make this guy an observer, and this is how we do it. If you look over here, you'll notice that the observable has an attach method. That attach method is handled in the .NET framework by this plus equals. Instead of being a method, it's used with an operator. But in any case, this says F2 bad word entered, which is in fact an event, bad word entered, in the form that we just created. And it says that form 1 wants to subscribe to that event. And by doing so, we have to specify what method within form 2 we want to be called as a result of this bad word being entered. So we have a method that we're going to call F2 bad word entered. There it is right there. I have actually 2 versions of it. This is the second one, and this is the one I'm using right now. That's because it's, no, I guess I'm using this one right now because it says F2 bad word entered. It says whenever we get notified by form 2's bad word entered event that a bad word was entered, we're going to call this method. So we're going to call a method F2 bad word entered, and it's going to execute this code on this handler, or on this this observer. So the other little piece that you need to see here is that this thing that we're creating here, this handler, is of the class specified in form 2. If we look over here in form 2, we'll see right here that we have this class embedded in the form 2 class. Well, no, it's in the form 2 file, but we have this class called bad word event args that we've already looked at, and that's how we refer to it in the other form. There's form 2 bad word event handler. All right, so with that, let's take a run on this, and I'm going to put a breakpoint right there, and when I run this thing, it pops up just like always, but when I click on this open method, that's what this button is. This is the m_button open second form button. That's its name in the code, and you should know how that happens already. When I click on it right there, it's at that method right there. It's in this method now, and it's saying how to handle things. And the way it's going to handle it is this. It's going to create the form object. Let me step over these. It's then going to set its location. In this line, we subscribe to the event called bad word event, or bad word entered in this form. And we subscribe to it by saying, and when this happens, I want you to call this method, F2 bad word entered. And that's the method that it will call right there. F2.show causes the form to pop up. So let me come down here. I think you'll be able to see it pop up when we execute. I've jumped over that one and that one. I'm going to jump over that one. Now I'm going to do F2 show, and there's the form sitting there waiting to run. And so we're good to go right now. I'll click on continue, and we are now in these forms up here. These are open and going. So if I say dang, it says Dave typed the word dang, and that's considered by this software to be a bad word, and I'll show you how that's done as well. So as you can see, this guy created this form, and when it created this form and positioned it properly, it also subscribed to this form. This is a form 2, to this form's bad word entered event, which we can see right here. We've seen it already. And the bad word entered event is an event of type bad word entered, or bad word event handler. And all that means is that the handler for the event has the same structure, the same prototype as is specified right there in this delegate. You don't need to know what delegate means right now. Roughly it means in this particular case that we're talking about specifying the structure or the prototype of a method. So then when we come down here, we say bad word entered, and it's going to be calling a bad word event handler, or a bad word event handler method, and that means it's got this structure. So when we look at this, we see that there's really nothing going on about that kind of an event. There's the event args object we've already looked at, but the bad word event handler is the method that we specify here. F2 bad word entered, that one. Okay? So the long and the short of this is that we create, just for this particular kind of an observer, there are many kinds of observers going on, and you can do them wherever you want, or however you want, really. But in this particular example, we have a form that opens a second form. The second form defines an event and a handler type, which is right there. And when we click on that event, this statement says that the form that it's in other words, form 1, wants to be notified of F2's bad word entered event, and when it is notified, it needs this method right there to be called. Okay? So that's what's going on. You can read through this, and this is where it gets the information from the bad word event args. Notice that in here, when we create the event, we say get the user's name from there and get the word that the user typed from there. If you look in this, the user's name comes whatever's in here. The bad word, or the whole sentence that the bad word is in, comes from right there. So the place that it decides what to do is right here in the case that a bad word was entered. Now there's another piece to this particular app, and this piece has this class right here called bad words, and bad words is the thing, that's the whole thing of it right there. I can enter the bad words right here. This thing, this is one method, is a static method. So in here I can say if badwords.isOne m_tb word.text, and I kind of got rid of that because now I'm just using the contains one method from bad words, and it's essentially the same kind of thing. I think the is one, well, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to show you that. But this checks to see if the string contains one of those words, and if it does, it returns true. If it returns true, then this right here allows this code to be executed, and that's when it raises the event. I hope that's helpful, and if not, please let me know. Let me point out that there's an error in here, and that is simply that this concrete observable A and concrete observable B should actually be named like they are down here, concrete observer A and concrete observer B. Please give me a holler if you need some help. Hope that was good for you.